Hi guys, this is Mrs. McSurley. So today I'm going to talk to you about a trick I have created to help you identify point of view. So to do this, you need handout 2A, and you are watching my video now, so that's good. We're going to go ahead and cut this into two because we're going to glue this in your notebook. So go ahead and follow me here. Let's cut this out. You need 2 pages side by side, 2 blank pages for your point of view trick on the left side, and then the example that we're going to identify a point of view of on the right. So if you need to pause my video to go ahead and get these glued in, you can do that at this time. I'm going to go ahead and just finish putting my notes in here. All right, and you can go ahead and put today's date here. Make sure your pages are numbered, and I'm going to add this to my table of contents. So under 66, it looks like I need to update my table of contents. So give me a minute here to update my table of contents. You can go ahead and take some time to do that as well. Definitions, explaining evidence. So today we are calling this identifying point of view. Alrighty, mine is 66 through 67. Alright, so like I said, this is a trick that I came up with to help students identify point of view, and it works every time beautifully. So you're just going to ask yourself a series of questions. Remember, when finding point of view, look at the narration, not the conversation. So when you're looking at point of view, you're only going to be paying attention to the narration. That's the stuff that doesn't have the quotes around it. So in looking at the narration only, and if you want to write that in your notes to remind yourself, in looking at the narration only, you're first going to ask yourself, is it first person point of view? I start with this one because I feel like this is the easiest one to identify. So I'm going to look at the narration and say, okay, does it use I, you, me, us? That means that the character or the narrator would be a character in the story. So like if I'm telling a story, I would be like, I walked to the kitchen table, I opened the door, she handed it to me. So that's what you would ask yourself first. Is it first person point of view? And you would look for those designated pronouns. If it's not, then you're going to ask yourself, is it second person? Meaning, does it talk directly to you? And a lot of times we see that in directions. But honestly, in fiction, it's very rarely second person. So if it's not first, if it's not second, now we know it must be third person point of view narration. So here is the question you're going to ask yourself. Do I know the thoughts and feelings of any characters? If the answer is no, it's third objective. If the answer is yes, I do know the thoughts and feelings of some characters, now you're going to ask yourself, how many? If it's just one character's thoughts and feelings you know, it's third limited. So the point of view is limited to just one person's thoughts or feelings. If we know 2 or 3 or even 4 characters' thoughts or feelings, or all of them in the story, then it's third omniscient. Remember that word omni means all, shint means knowing. So that is the series of steps you're going to go through, and I want you to memorize this because these steps are incredibly helpful. So again, you're going to ask yourself, is it first person? Does he use I, you, me as a narrator or character in the story? Or is it second person? Does it talk directly to you as a reader? If not, it must be third person, and then I'm going to ask myself, do I know the thoughts and feelings of any characters? If no, I don't know the thoughts and feelings of any characters, it's third objective. If yes, then the question is, how many characters' thoughts and feelings do I know? If I know just one character's thoughts and feelings, it's third limited. If I know 2 or more, it's third omniscient. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this example from City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I got this out of the first book in this series. You can check it out in my library. It's on pages 8 through 9. So what I want you to do is grab a highlighter, okay? And we're going to create a color code up here. So we're going to have the narration in one color and the dialogue / conversation in another color. So can you grab 2 different colored highlighters for me? And if you need to pause the video, you can do that. So my narration is going to be in yellow. You pick what color you want yours narration to be. And my dialogue or conversation is going to be in green. So what I want us to do is to go through, and I guess really you could just choose which one you want to highlight it. Maybe I'll just highlight the narration, because when finding point of view, you look at the narration, not the conversation. So what I want you to do really quick, this may seem crazy, but we're going to go through and we're going to highlight all the narration, all right? So like he froze, that's narration. You is dialogue, so I won't highlight that. He didn't finish. She moved with lightning swiftness, right? So I'm just going to highlight all of this. Anything that's not in quotes, anything that's not said, right? Look at all that narration. That's telling the story. That's narrating for us what's going on. Okay, I'm going to stop about right there. Okay? So when finding point of view, we only look at the narration. We are going to ignore the dialogue. And there's a reason for that. Because if you look at the dialogue, this trick over here doesn't work. So we're going to figure out the point of view of this story. So the first thing I'm going to ask myself is it first person? Does it use I, you, me, us, or any of those first person pronouns in the narration? So here it's saying he, she, he, she. So it doesn't seem like my narrator is a character in the story. So this is not first person. Notice again that I am only looking at the narration. I'm not looking at the dialogue. And here's why. Because if a character's talking, they probably will at one point say I in the dialogue. And then you get confused and you're like, oh, it's first person. Well, no. When finding point of view, only look at the narration, not the conversation. So we know it's not first person, so now let's say, is it second person? Does it talk directly to you? Well, no, we decided it uses pronouns like he and she. So it must be third. So now the question I'm going to ask myself is, do I know the thoughts and feelings of any character? So we're going to go through here, and we're going to pay attention to thoughts and feelings. A lot of these are just going to be actions. So I'm going to think, which ones are thoughts or feelings? Okay. He didn't finish. She moved with lightning swiftness, striking out at him with her open hand, a blow to his chest. Are any of these thoughts or feelings? Now, these are just actions. So far, we have no thoughts or feelings. A blow to his chest that would have sent him down gasping if he'd been a human being. He staggered back, and now there was something in her hand. Any thoughts or feelings yet? Nope. A coiling whip that glinted gold as she brought it down. So still we have description and action, no thoughts or feelings. And I'm wondering, is this objective? Do we not know any character's thoughts or feelings? So we have to keep reading. A coiling whip that glinted gold as she brought it down, curling around his ankles, jerking him off his feet. He hit the ground, writhing, the hated metal biting deep in his skin. She laughed, still just actions, standing over him, and dizzily thought, you see that? Underline with your pen or pencil the word thought. And dizzily thought that he should have known. Okay, we know a thought. So we know at least one character's thought. No human girl would wear a dress like the one Isabel wore. She'd worn it to cover her skin, all her skin. Okay, so we know at least one character's thoughts. So it's definitely at least third limited. And we have to keep reading to see if we know any other character's thoughts. Isabel yanked hard on the whip, securing it. Her smile glittered like poisonous water. He's all yours, boys. I'm going to keep highlighting now, my narration. Looking for thoughts. A low laugh sounded behind him, and now there were hands on him, hauling him upright, throwing him against one of the concrete pillars. Still actions, no thoughts, no feelings. He could feel. You see that? He could feel. So there we've got a thought or feeling. His hands were pulled behind him, his wrists bound with wire. As he struggled, someone walked around the side of the pillar into his view. A boy as young as Isabel and just as pretty. His tawny eyes glittered like chips of amber. "So," the boy said, "are there any more of you?" So now it seems like this is still the same character, so we definitely know his thoughts or feelings, so that's still at least one. The blue-haired boy, so now this is a different boy. The blue-haired boy could feel blood welling up under the too tight metal, making his wrists slippery. I mean, I think it's another character, but here we've got a thought or a feeling. Even if this is the same, maybe it is limited. I'm going to have to go through and decide, are these the same character or different? Clary. Now, Clary is definitely different because that's a girl. I'm looking at narration. Clary pushed the door to the storage room open and stepped inside. For a moment, she thought. You see that? There's a character, thought, and feeling. And this time, it's not this guy. It's Clary. She thought it was deserted. The only windows were high up and barred. Faint street noise came through them, the sound of honking. There's no one in here, she realized, and that's a thought. So I hope you underlined all these things I did in blue. These are all thoughts and feelings. So the question is, we know it's not first, we know it's not second, it must be third. We have to tell what type of third. Do I know the thoughts and feelings of any characters? Yes, I do. How many? 2 or more. So this is third. Write this in your notes. Omniscient. So that's my trick. So now you're going to do some practice and you're going to have smaller passages where you have to identify the point of view. Every time I want you to use my trick. I promise you it works every time and it makes it so easy for you. Just make sure you're only looking at the narration. And if you have questions, ask me.